I'm going to bloviate today about some common brass player myths. Um, and at the top of the list, one that I find the most annoying is this mouthpiece buzzing nonsense. Um, Now, there are some very good books out there on the physics of brass winds. I suggest you avail yourselves of them. They're expensive, but if you really want to know how brass instruments work, read them. Um, the lips don't vibrate. Another thing that goes hand in hand with this is those mouthpiece rings. The only thing they're good for is you get to spray your halitosis in your educator's face. The fact of the matter is, the thing that's going on is on a scale that's far too small for the human eye to see. You need special equipment to see what's actually going on. You need interferometers, you need infrared, um, you need X-ray cross sections, and lots of fancy stuff that I don't have access to, and I don't think you do either. Um, what cats? What actually happens is the air vibrates two ways. The instrument itself vibrates, which you can see with an interferometer, and the air column vibrates too. And the two together resonate, producing sinus waves. Now, if you don't know what a sinus wave is, look it up, learn the math, and then you'll know what's going on. Now, your lips, the surface of your lips, um, becomes part of this vibrating air column. And no is not part of the vibrating air column. That's going whap, 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 whap. That's something else altogether, and that's not what's happening. The surface of your lips is going like this, and the airflow is going like this, and the horn is going like this. And hello, the two are creating a sinus wave together and making horn magic. Now, the mouthpiece ring and looking at buzzing, the buzzing is not what's happening. That's not what's producing the sound. If you go into a horn, you get a sound like. That's what it sounds like when you buzz into a horn. So if you musicians do all kinds of things to fool themselves. They put the mouthpiece on and then they adjust unconsciously. Yeah, really. And then they have this dog. Let's go back into the history of where this dogma comes from. When I was a child, I was taught something called the smiling embouchure. I believe it was taught in my old Arbenz book. It says something like stretch the lips into a rictus, like, and now criticize the smiling embouchure as you like. It was state of the art at one time, and some very good players found a way to make it work. But that's the key thing about embouchures, period. In the 19th century, especially, there was a method craze on, and all these focused embouchures were the result of educators trying to get students, and they would put their own spin on things. And the fact of the matter is, no matter how misguided or horrible an embouchure is, look at Dennis Brain, for example. Good Lord. Um, but a great player can play through a bad embouchure. That's the fact of it. Um, Now, another myth in brass winds is that the air is spiraling through the horn. No, I used to be a smoker many years ago, and many of us smokers used to take a big drag, play through the horn. You see, the air is only going about this fast through the horn. The resonance is something to behold because you can't see uh, what's generating all that sound. You know, it's an amazing phenomenon. It's like going to a symphony and there, soaring above the strings and everyone else, is the sound of a piccolo. And the surface making that noise is about the same size as the nail of your little finger. That little spot is producing all that sound that's carrying over an orchestra. You know, you can't see the physics, the wonder, the magic that's going on. And the same is true of brass playing. Uh, brass players, brass educators have always liked to sound like they know what they're talking about. And that's part it's a leftover from the days of method embouchures, and unfortunately a lot of method playing is still around. If I had it to do all over again, I would create what I would call a vocal approach. Anything that were pretend these are little vocal cords, and anything that pertains to singing you can apply to brass, and it would probably work 10 times better. Singers approach singing very differently from brass players. They're very methodical and matter of fact about how they go about uh, doing things, but you can't see your vocal cords. And a lot of the stuff that you learn when you learn to sing is counterintuitive. Hundreds of years of trial and error and figuring things out. Now, if that was only applied to brass playing, I think brass education would take yet another quantum leap forward. The two sizes of brass wind players that have the most problems are trumpet players and horn players, French horn, for those of you who don't know the word Waldhorn. It's the size of the mouthpiece. Trumpet players have more chop problems, and so do horn players. Their embouchures suddenly fall apart, and it's because they're not doing things right in the first place. Back when I was a kid, if you had problems on the horn or trumpet, cornet, you were put on a larger mouthpiece, which meant playing ideally euphonium, but euphonium, trombone, baritone, instruments like that. Um, because then you surround the problem and things become a lot more intuitive, a lot easier, and far, far, far fewer uh, players in that mouthpiece range have chop problems. Now, when I was in high school, I chanced to be with my dad and I had money on me. It was $12 in those days. Um, I was in Northwest Music, I believe on 7th Street East, no, 7th Avenue East in Vancouver, British Columbia. And cats. There's so back in those days, you could swap mouthpieces. Nobody caught anything. There was nothing, no cooties to go around in those days. And guy brought out a mouthpiece case, and my teacher wanted me to get a new 6C El Stinko mouthpiece because I was using my dad's old CE 3C mouthpiece, which is a real dog of a mouthpiece. I looked in that case, and looked at the array of mouthpieces, and I tried the little bitty ones and couldn't get a sound out of them. So I thought, well, let's try the other extreme. We got all day. So I went bing, 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 and there was a Bach straight one, they used to call it in those days. Sharp rim, big onk, 18.30 or 18 millimeters, something like that. And no, you don't want to try. That's way, 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 way too big. Well, it was like magic. I put that thing on. I was having major jaw problems at the time. Boom, they all went away. I went from 0 to hero, and I was playing first chair in everything within 6 months. The air was moving. I was able to work inside the mouthpiece, and that's another thing to consider. I'll make another video on this one of these days, but that's all I want to say for now. Ta-ta! Happy tooting!